So our final speaker for this evening is Stacy Dempsey, and she is with American National Insurance, and she's going to be talking to us about insurance policies for farm businesses. Stacy recently won an award for her work with the Salem County Meals on Wheels program. So welcome, Stacy.
Thank you. Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you for that introduction. I do work for a company called American National, also known as Farm Family Insurance. That might be a more familiar name to some of you in the crowd and out there in internet world. And I've been working for that company for the last 16 years, and my focus has been all businesses in agriculture. So 90% of the clients that I work with are related to agriculture or agritourism in some way. And of that, those 90% of those businesses, 60% are women-owned businesses. So it's an area that I enjoy working in, and like I said, I've been doing it for the last 16 years. And so some of the very quick topics that I'm going to go through tonight will be just some generalizations, as whether you're with Farm Family or not, some things to look for just to be educated on your farm policies. And so the purpose of your farm insurance is to basically protect, number one, what's important to you, and to protect against a loss that would be detrimental to your business. We're all working in our businesses very hard every day. And so for one client, things are going to be important to insure or insure against, and some people are not going to be as concerned about insuring those things. And so when I work with my clients, what I tell them is that I just want to talk about the things that are going to be important to you. If you don't care about that building blowing over one day, that's okay with me. I'm not going to, I certainly have clients that say, I've got 6 buildings on my property. This one is not so important because I have 5 more that I can put stuff in or do things in. And so the purpose of your farm insurance is to protect against the things that are going to be important to you. Now, along the way, your agent should make recommendations based on their experience. In 16 years, I see experience in certain areas like miscellaneous tools and supplies and things like that. Those things get picked up pretty easily for theft. So it's just, in my experience, it's usually a place that we might want to add some insurance, but at the end of the day, this is your insurance policy with your name on it. Liability. Liability is one of those things that people think that perhaps there's like a cookie cutter stamp of, I've got liability, so I can basically just do whatever I want, and that's not the case. I do want to also emphasize that if you have a homeowner's policy, that doesn't cover what you're doing on your farm. Some people think, well, I have a homeowner's policy, my home is there, I have liability, and that is good. But for all of our farm activities, typically, most of the time, those things are excluded from our homeowner's policy. So when you look at your liability, what is important is to make sure that all the activities that we're doing on our farm or on land that we're renting, all of the activities that we're doing, that somehow that's listed on the policy somewhere. So if we're doing boarding and lessons and training of horses, on your policy there should be something listed there that says boarding and training and lessons. Most of the time, things are not just automatically included in our basic liability. Sometimes it is, because maybe we're doing it infrequently. It's not really something that we're doing all of the time, and so there's not really a huge exposure, and the company doesn't feel like they have to add an endorsement to it. But for the majority of the time, depending on what our activities are, we want to make sure that that is somewhere listed on our liability page. I also get the question is, Stacey, I don't charge for that. So yes, I want people to come to my farm. They do pick their own. They get on a hayride to go out to the patch, to pick a pumpkin and come back, but I don't charge for any of that. Great, not a problem, but we still are doing the activity. Therefore, we need to make sure that those hayrides, in our whole scheme of things, the liability of that is covered somewhere. And so because of the world of agriculture is changing so much, we want to make sure that if we're inviting people to our property, that our liability covers that. If people are going out into our fields, that that's something that's being covered. If we're doing campfires, throwing pumpkins. I had a client yesterday call me and say, Stacey, in October, I want to take a 100-pound pumpkin. I don't want to slingshot it across the farm for, I'm not kidding, for an experience. That's a great idea. However, you're a nursery and you never invite the public to your property. So I'm not quite sure how this, like, let's talk about it. Like, I'm not against it, but let's talk about it just a little bit more. I'm the agent that, like, we'll figure out how to make it work, but you have to tell me beforehand, not after the fact, because then I got other people I have to explain things to. So also on your main farm policy is going to be, again, these are going to be things that are important to you. So with the policies that I write, we list out the buildings that you want insured, what they're called. We come up with how much they need to be insured for versus how much you want to insure them for. Typically, if you don't see that building or you don't see that greenhouse listed on your policy, it probably isn't covered. Now, I'm not speaking for all companies because sometimes there are blanket coverages where, you know, that maybe you have some coverage, but you want to specifically see where your buildings are insured, what the value of them are, what the deductibles are, because the deductibles are also very important. Machinery, and machinery is a moving part. In my world, we do a blanket machinery, so you're not going to see every single tractor that I have on the farm, because guess what? I'm going to come next year, and that tractor could be long gone, and I have a new tractor. So we want to make sure there's a blanket of machinery that whether I have that tractor or another tractor, if something happens to it, we're going to have coverage for it. Things like inventory, products, supplies, tools. If you have a farm market, do we have a refrigerator system in any of that? We just want to make sure that we talk about those things, that those things are included, if they're important to you, that they're included somewhere on the policy. Business auto insurance. So business auto insurance is going to be a little bit different than personal auto insurance. People will come to me and say, Stacey, while I'm pulling it with this vehicle, the trailer's automatically covered. That would be correct on a personal auto insurance. Business auto insurance is we are using that vehicle primarily on our business, either going from farm to farm, going to the farm market, dropping product off. That's the primary use for it. Typically, business auto insurance is actually a little bit cheaper than personal auto insurance. Oh, boom. Did I hear a boom? Okay, I like it.